Delco. What is Delco? Urban Dictionary, maybe the best definition of any place in the history of any place. Delco is the nickname for Delaware County. Not just a place to live, it's a way of life. Delco isn't something you obtain with a short visit while you're passing through. Never has been, or don't actually live here, you just won't understand. Delco is something you can spot across the bar while out of town. Speaking of bars, there's 42-to-1 ratio when it comes to bars to libraries. Delco people love being from Delco. I don't know if there's anything special from Delco, except being a Delco guy, I kind of like it.
What is up, Delaware County? Welcome back for, I believe, episode number 115 of Delco Baseball Now, joined by Ben Thorpe, also my dog Buster, right there under the Delco Baseball Now blanket. That's his favorite. We are here discussing another week of high school baseball. I think at this point we're definitely over the halfway point of the regular season, which is pretty much flown by. Ben, you still got the Under Armour on? Cold baseball game this morning?
It was miserable. Honestly, okay, last week was way worse because it was windy. But yeah, it was a little cold, a little wet. Nice, like, 7 a.m. drive to Vineland, New Jersey. So that was cool. I feel like when you drive there, you don't, like, I don't know how, it feels like you're driving, like, into a pit. Like, when you go into that, like, just middle of New Jersey type thing.
So my dad drives not every day, but almost every day from Westchester to Vineland. So I'll have to see, and he'll probably be listening to this episode on the way to work tomorrow morning, on Monday morning, going to Vineland. So
you get over the bridge, and it's like, how do I still have 40 minutes to go? There's not 40 minutes of New Jersey. Like, it's just, I don't know.
Yeah, well, he works for a construction company there, so like he's a project manager, so he kind of goes to like different job sites. But if he's going into the office, it's Vineland. Well, yeah, that's I can't believe you guys even played with the rain today. Our game was supposed to be at O'Hara, and they're like, yeah, you're not playing on that field, not during the high school season at least.
Yeah, I don't know. The storms we got, I think, were because Vineland's way south.
Yeah.
So I think they got missed a little bit. The field just held water. I mean, the mound was kind of a mess, but
no one cares about the pitchers.
Yeah, we just had to go do it.
Yeah.
Got the job done.
Let's get into the stuff from this week. I want to start off. I got to go to the Ridley and Interboro game. That was Saturday morning. It was a tribute. Jackson Monroe's mother, Nicole, passed in March. Jackson's an infielder for Interboro. It was cool. Both teams had different kind of like pink. Interboro had like black T-shirts with the pink, Monroe on the back, the ribbons. I think it said either Interboro or Bucks baseball on the front, and the Ridley ones were kind of like a little bit of like a off-white but like pink tint as well, and it just said like I think the Ridley one said Raiders baseball, and the Interboro one just said Interboro. But that was cool because I don't really think it's a secret that these teams don't like each other very much, but just to kind of see them like come, and really in all sports. I mean, obviously football is the classic Thanksgiving game, but I don't really think that's as much of a secret. And I don't know, it was just cool to see them kind of come together and show support. I think Jackson's dad, Marcos, is a coach for Interboro, but also for one of the travel teams that a lot of players on both teams like play for. So I don't know, it was just cool to see them all come together.
Yeah, definitely. It's always good to see people rally around a good cause like that.
And you said you were at one for Haverford with Danny Meekum, right? Kind of similar.
Yes, yeah, similar thing. It was very nice. I think Haverford they all had pink wristbands. I think it was
cool.
So it was a cool tribute.
Yeah, it was a bummer we couldn't do the dollar dogs, but I was talking to both coaches. I'm like, look, like we couldn't buy 300 hot dogs and just not have this game happen, and because like all week it looked like it was gonna pour. So I was all right, well, we have some of the frozen dogs left from Bonner, so we'll we can. But it really was the buns.
Yeah, the buns are probably done now.
Yeah.
We're gonna have to get new ones
for sure. But
it's a sunken cost.
Last thing I wanted to bring up just before we get into the high school stuff, I also stopped over at the Delco Baseball Now Little League team at Media Little League, and it was cool because we got our color scheme. So they're royal blue with the gold writing on it, which is awesome. And so when we did it 2 years ago, we were, I think, the Blue Jays, right? We were like the powder blue.
Yeah.
They kind of restructured it, so the team is just called Delco Baseball Now. So like they're not like an MLB team.
Oh, that's sweet.
they kind of they're the Delco dogs. That's what I mean, they're 9. They're 8 and 9 years old.
Yeah.
I think some of the coaches now listen. Shout out the coaches for organizing it, standing out there in the freezing cold yesterday.
Yeah.
And running the show. We are now anti-Kist Automotive because they beat us. So we're boycotting Kist Automotive.
It's a shame. Good thing I already got my car. Well, or are they a dealership, or are they like a?
I think it's like I thought it was I think it's a mechanic. I'm pretty sure I got like tires changed there before. But if they want to sponsor us, I will gladly take back my criticism.
Sorry, I'm Team McGarrigles all the way.
Yeah, well, hey, it's a long season, so we got a lot to go. But all right, before we get into the action here, let's get a quick word from our friends over at STS.
If you love working with kids and making a difference, then Substitute Teaching is the perfect job for you. Substitute Teacher Service is hiring teachers in your area year-round for all positions and levels. A teaching degree is not required. We provide you with all necessary certification and even help you to work towards a full-time teaching position. Great benefits, flexible schedule, a rewarding career. The Subservice is hiring right now in your area. Learn more and apply today at thesubservice.com.
Thank you to SCS for being a great sponsor. As always, let's dive into it. We'll start off with the game of the week. This was a bit of a chilly one as the game went on. If you could have seen my setup, Ben, were you at the game last year, the game of the week with Haverford and EA that Dave and I were doing?
Yes, I was.
Do you remember like how our table was basically on a hill?
Yeah.
So they built a bunch of trees up there too. So not only was I up on the hill, I was like kind of like between two trees too. I must look so ridiculous up there. And I just found like the perfect angle where stuff was not sliding down the table because like I was still kind of downhill. But it was a good game. Episcopal won it 10-6. It was kind of a game where it felt like the whole game Episcopal was leading, then Haverford would get close and Episcopal would pull away, and then it got to the point where in the 6th, Haverford scored 3 runs to tie it at 6-6. But then Episcopal found the offense to put it away. They scored 4. Spencer Shue had the go-ahead single. His brother Baxter had 2 hits, double, 2 RBIs. Dylan Walls, Reggie King both had 2 hits, drove in runs. Trey Schwaninger and Ty Cohen both drove in runs. The pitching for Episcopal was, I would say, good, not great. Hunter West, not quite as sharp as he was, in the Malvern prep game. But like you always say with the aces and the best pitchers, like they'll still battle. 4 innings, 3 runs, 2 Ks, like. And only 3 hits. Like if you don't have your best stuff, he still was, giving them enough of a quality start. And Roman Notaro, pitched well too. 3 innings, 3 hits, 2 runs. The bigger thing was, and we'll get to more of this guy later, that Notaro was able to finish it out. So Michael Schaffer did not have to go in because he was warming up for a little bit. But it was a good game overall. And I think that, right now Episcopal is the better team. They're playing, after that game and the week they've had. But like obviously these teams are very similar. A 6-6 game in the 6th. Danny Getz had 2 hits for Haverford in the loss. But I mean we've been blessed with a lot of really good games this year for our game of the week. We
really have, which is I guess definitely a little bit of a switch up from last year because I know we got a lot of like blowouts or just kind of 1-0 pitchers, which nothing wrong with that, but. Definitely, in terms of entertainment,
we just
got a lot better games.
Last year, we just had too many games that were like too close to be a blowout, but too like far away to be.
Yeah,
it was like 6-1, 7-1, like 5. Just games that were like kind of one-sided, but it's not like mercy rule,
Yeah,
but, I mean, this definitely made up for the last 2 games that we were broadcasting. Were 0-0 into the 7th, so we got the offense that we were kind of craving there. But yeah, I really like this Episcopal team. I think they have a really deep lineup. I think that they have, like in a game like this, for example, I think the best hitter so far throughout the whole year for Episcopal, I don't have their stats. It just feels like we're writing about Michael Schaffer the most. And I think he was 0-3 with 3 Ks. And they're scoring 10 runs. So like I just feel like they have a ton of guys that can beat you. Baxter Shue is really, I think he's a junior, could be a sophomore, has just really kind of stepped up and really taken like an everyday role. I think last year he kind of would play, but not like every game like he has been. And, the top of the order, JD Amoroso has came back from an early season injury, and he's been huge for them, both offense and at shortstop. You got D1 Bat and Dylan Walls, like Reggie King right in the middle of the order. Like these guys have a very deep lineup and a good pitching staff, and it's easy to see why they're, I think 13-6 now, maybe 13-7. I think 13-6. They'd won, I think 7 in a row.
Yeah. I mean, it's I think the talent we knew it was there. It got off to a little bit of a weird start. Like I remember we were talking about where they had a great day and then a bad day, and you kind of go back and forth. But it looks like that's starting to click now, and you can really see. You can really see like what this team is capable of, especially with the pitching staff they have, in addition to the talent on offense.
And it's also hard for us because we don't know anything about the teams they play in Florida. So, like, in some years they go like 7-0, but it turns out the teams they play weren't great. And then this year it seems like from some of the comments we got on posts, like they're playing really good pitching down there, and it just got them ready for this. So, kind of hard to tell sometime. But they continued their week. They took down Westtown. Michael Schaffer 3 for 3, homer and 2 RBIs. JD Amoroso, second homer in the last week. Charlie Smith threw well in this game. 5 innings, 3 hits, no earned runs. And Matt Roberts, who was on the podcast back in the spring, 2 innings, 1 hit, and 2 strikeouts to win that game. But the real game this week was our first perfect game of the season from Michael Schaffer. Once again, still just a sophomore, missed all of last season with an injury. We saw him get some big innings in 8th grade, so if that doesn't tell you that this guy's going to be a dog, like I don't really know what else will at this point. 7 innings, no hits, no runs, no walks, 5 strikeouts, and I think the most impressive part about that is that quick math here says the defense made 16 outs. Like you see a lot in this level. I think when Will Hoffman threw one a couple years ago, he had like 14 or 15 strikeouts. Like it truly is for perfect games a team effort to get that done. Like to be able to make all 16 outs, like it's. Obviously, the credit goes to Michael and the catcher, who I assume was Ty Cohen probably. But, like, that's a great team effort there. And, again, it's an interact game, so it's not like they were just playing, like, a random non-conference team that they're supposed to blow out. Like, that's as legit as it gets.
Yeah. I mean, it's pretty rare to see a perfect game at any level. We've been lucky enough to now have 2. Well, 2 and 7. 2 like they're the 7 innings. We've gone through that whole argument of the Mercy Rule games, but it's really impressive game from him, and it's kind of insane that he's just a sophomore. So it seems like there's a really bright future there.
Last thing on that was that we see no hitters a lot. I mean, we had one the day before, which we'll talk about in a sec with Malvern, and just like the fact that there's combined no hitters, there's a couple like 5-inning no hitters, right? The Mercy Rule games, but just to have the full 7-inning one and perfect game is awesome. So congrats to Mike. And also in this game, Spencer Shue went 3 for 4 with a triple. He drove in a run. Baxter, another good performance, 2 for 3, 2 RBIs and a double. Reggie King also 2 for 3 at the double and an RBI. So they won their first 3 games this week. We'll talk a little bit more once we get into the PCL. They lost to Bonner on Saturday. It was a really good game. But yeah, I mean, we talked about with Coach Grandieri in that post-game interview, like you're 0-2 in the Interac. Like it's not, the saying is always, it's a long season. In the Interac, it's not. You play 10 games. So like if you go 0-3, like you're not winning the league. You're just not. Like not in a league with Malvern. You're not losing. You're not winning the game or the league with that many losses. So just to have been able to win their last 4 games in the Interac, like they have a real chance to win the league. If they beat Malvern again, they control their own path in that regard. Yeah,
it would be one of the more impressive runs we've seen if they manage to do, especially after an 0-2 start. But and to be fair, they really have no room for error. Like you probably lose another one, you have no chance. But yeah, it's going to be definitely interesting to see. When did they play Malvern next?
I don't think this week, but I believe the following week because I think they play like the same schedule twice. Like they play, in
you just
of 5 teams. So that will be on Friday, May 1st. So that is this week. Okay, they play on the Friday. They play on the Friday, and that'll be at this time.
Kind of have the league on the line there.
Yep. All right. Well, speaking of Malvern, we'll run through a couple of their games this week. They took down Springside Chestnut Hill 11-1. Jack Irvine, this was a 5-inning game through all 5 innings with just 1 earned run and 7 Ks. Jalen Bowman homered again. Brady Abate, Luke Moore, Nick Schmidt, and Tommy Sergio all had 2 hits. Sergio drove in 3 runs. Luke Moore and Stephen Postek drove in 2. But we had technically based on chronological, this is our first no-hitter of the week. That was Paul DeBona. The only base runner in this one, though, was an error. So basically, equally as good. Like no walks, no hit by pitch. Like he faced 22 batters. So No hits, no runs, no walks, 7 Ks. Ben, the real question I have is, what is more impressive, Paul throwing the no-hitter or his brother Frankie eating 11 hot dogs?
So, I'll put it this way. If you throw a no-hitter, you can bounce back the next week and throw another no-hitter. If you eat 11 hot dogs, you might be out of commission for a bit. So
that's as good as
I think in the way of like toll in the body, probably the dogs. In terms of like, you look at it and be like, oh, that's cool. Like probably the no-hitter, but it's.
I'll go. The dogs are more impressive than the no-hitter, but not more impressive than the perfect game.
That's fair. Yeah.
A lot of moving parts there. But in that game, they beat Garnet Valley 8-0. Gabe Naylor hit a 2-run homer. Brady Abate and Jack Hefner had 2 hits in that game as well. So that was obviously non-conference game, but they wrapped up the week taking down Germantown Academy. Just the starting pitching from Malvern this week was just unbelievable. Colin Romancic, 7 innings, 7 hits, 1 earned run, 7 Ks. Grady Forsberg homered. Luke Moore drove in 2 runs, and also driving in runs was Nick Schmidt and Jalen Bowman. A rare loss from Malvern on Saturday. I don't know much about this team, Calvert Hall. I think they're one of the better teams in Maryland.
Yeah,
but
they're
Malvern
good.
They were one out away from being no hit in this game. And the more impressive thing was Calvert threw like a couple different pitchers too, like 4 or 5, maybe 6. So they must be a pretty solid team. My only real note from this game was that the first hit of the game from Malvern with 2 outs in the 7th was from Jackson Melkonian, which might have been his first at bat back from the injury. Because I know he had been playing a little defense, running the bases, but that's definitely encouraging to get that hit back. So I mean, that's in a non-conference game, a loss when you're still 25-4. I think just to come out of the game being like, all right, well, he can swing a bat. That's cool,
It's gotta be funny coming off injury, not hitting at all, and breaking up a no hitter.
Yeah,
just going back like, dude, it's not that hard.
Yeah.
Come on, guys.
Yeah, I only need 1 wrist. Just wrapping up the Interac, really the first real tough week for the Haverford School. They lost all 3. They lost to Episcopal, Springside, Chestnut Hill, and then Newman Goretti. I still think they're a really good team. I think they just had a bad week. I'm not really too concerned about that. I will say that I think they might be 0-4 on the road this year, which is interesting. I didn't realize they played that many. I know they have the turf, but if they're if they want to get to where they want to go, they're gonna have to adjust to some of these fields with the different dimensions. And I know it's a small sample size, just 4 games, but I guess they played that would make 15 home games. Which I guess when you can play more than 20 games and schedule wherever you want, people want to come to the turf,
Yeah, I mean, it just kind of one of the realities of playing up here. If you have a turf field, you're going to play a lot of games at home just because you're able to play when some people aren't.
For sure. All right, let's move into the Central League here. Ben, we'll start off with those Cougs from Springfield, second place in the conference at 7-3. They took down Ridley 11-1. Jack Ray and Nick Russo were both great. Jack Ray threw 5 innings with 1 earned run and 2 Ks. Nick Russo, 2 innings with no runs. Danny Meekum and Shane McCaffrey both drove in 3. Owen Kehoe, which is funny. I know it's not spelled like Kehoe, like Jackson and Tyler, but it's just funny. I assume that's how it's pronounced.
It is, yeah.
So it's just funny reading that. He went 3 for 4 with 2 runs. Jake Lennon had 2 hits and drove in 2 runs. That's a Ridley team that was playing really well, and they just went in. I don't know if it was home or away, but they just went in there and just dominated that game. But the real, if you want to say raise your eyes, if anybody still was kind of skeptical, they beat Lower Merion, great win, walk off by TJ Valetti in I think either the 8th or 9th. Once again, Kehoe and Jake Lennon, they both had 2 hits. Danny Meekum had 2 hits, so did Valetti. Nolan Dulski, great start, 6 1/3, 3 hits, 1 earned run, and 5 Ks. And Drew Kraus finished out the game. So this one went 9. So that was the 9th inning. They walked it off. He threw 2 2/3 with 2 hits and no earned runs. Ben, you were on the way to the Flyers during this game, right?
That was that Wednesday.
That was Wednesday, yeah.
Yeah. I would have been on my way to the Flyers.
You were texting me asking for updates. I'm like, they won.
Yeah. Because I might have been there by then. I think I was getting a beer. I was like,
you were already there.
Yeah, because we tried to get down early.
Makes sense.
But yeah, no, great week from them. Good way to bounce back, especially after losing to Haverford last week.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't crunched the numbers officially, but if they go 8-8, they're almost 100% in. Just the way it's been lately. But I mean, 7-9, like we said, like they should be aiming higher than just making it right at this point.
Yeah. I mean, it's if you go 8-8, that means you won one of your last six games.
Right.
So I mean, it's the bar's a little higher now. I think you've kind of put yourself in position where that goal of being in playoffs, you've more or less achieved that, and you have an opportunity at more here. I mean, they're in a spot for a bye right now if the playoffs started. Like
Playoff game, yeah.
It's been it's been forever. I mean, I don't know if they've ever had a bye. At least like in terms of how the playoffs have worked.
Probably not, because for a while it was 16 teams made it. Nobody got a bye. So I would guess probably not in that. But all right, let's move into Garnet Valley here. Good bounce back week for them. They had lost a couple the week before. Awesome performance by Ryan McGee. Really would be a pitcher of the week and pretty much every other week. I think we know who that is. But Ryan McGee, 7 shutout innings, 4 hits, 4 Ks, and a 1-0 win over Radnor to get back on track. It's pretty rare to watch Austin Havertine lose. I think the only run in this game was a Havertine thrown away pickoff throw.
Oh.
and that scored a run. I think just based on the game changer was kind of hard to, but like it definitely wasn't a hit. I think it was either like thrown away by a catcher, thrown away by whatever it was. It was on the base pass. Cole Lombardo, Cole Hoffiger, and Kyle Klein had hits, and Havertine threw well, 6 innings, 3 hits, no earned runs, and 8 Ks. But biggest takeaway here is like when they need a big performance, like in the last 2 years, Ryan McGee's been that guy. And in a game where their offense was obviously facing one of the best pitchers in the area, like they were able to find a way to win. And after a week where they lost to, I think last week was like Penn and Ridley, maybe I think were the 2 teams they lost to. And
tough one.
I think that was last week. And that was a good bounce back. They also took down Harriton 3-2. Zach Gordon had the go-ahead single in the top of the 8th. Ryan McGee had 2 hits in that game. Really great stuff, because I know for Garnet Valley, one of their issues has just really been trying to find the pitching behind McGee consistently. They have guys who go in, have some good performances, not always consistent throughout the year. Asher Weingarten, 4 innings, 2 hits, 2 earned runs, 2 Ks. Colton Turner, though, 4 shutout innings, 1 hit, 4 strikeouts in relief. Just a huge performance to take down Harriton, kind of get them not like back in the mix. Like, I mean, they're, likely going to make the playoffs. I think as of right now, we'll give a quick district update once we're done with the Central League talk. I think they're, as of right now, hosting they'd be hosting a game. So we'll check that in a little bit here. But yeah, Garnet's a team where it seems like they're dangerous. Are they going to have the arms to go through that full 6A bracket? I'm not sure. They're going to need to hit a little better than this either way. Scoring 4 runs this week. Obviously, you won twice. You also got no hit by Malvern, but they do well against everybody, so hard to judge. But I think overall they should feel pretty solid about where they're at.
Yeah. I mean, they're kind of closing in on the same spot they've been pretty much every year since we've been covering them. Really good offense, good number 1 pitcher, a little bit like questionable behind that, and probably somewhere in the middle of the 6A bracket, they're going to find themselves. So it's, and that can be a kind of like, that can be a good thing too, because, a lot of these guys have been there. They've done that. They'll be able to handle the first game. They have the experience of playing someone that's probably coming off a bye if they win, and they're going to have experience in this situation. So I think that does bode well for them. And I would argue that the arm situation is probably better than it's been in years past.
I think so, yeah, because it's pretty much all the same guys from last year. It was just another year of experience, except for Andy alone. But I'm just rooting for a home game on the turf in the playoffs.
That'd be cool.
All right, moving on to Haverford here, still leading the conference, and I'm not, I don't want to mess with the baseball gods and call it over, but they are 3 games up on everybody. I would say at this point, that they pretty much locked it, at the very least, a share of it, because they would have to drop 4 games in the last 6.
It would take a historic collapse.
Correct, yeah. And they had another good week. They beat Harriton 7-1. Lucas Rothstein 5 2/3, 1 hit, 1 earned run, 9 Ks. Gavin Anderson through the rest of the 1 1/3 with no runs. Sam Sturman 2 triples. How about that? 2 triples. Drove in 2 runs. Rocco Kelleher double and 2 walks. A really good win, because the way talk about the next game here. They beat Harriton 7-1. Their next game, Haverford 3, Strathaven 0. this was an encouraging performance for a couple reasons. I think they wanted to kind of ease Jimmy Boyle's workload a little. He's throwing so many innings for these guys. Sean McGillivray, who transferred in from O'Hara, I recognize the name. He hasn't thrown too much.
Yeah.
He hasn't thrown too much from this year. 5 shutout innings with 7 Ks, and then Jimmy Boyle decided he just wanted to strike out 5 of the last 6 hitters of the game, just because. Sam Sturman, 3rd triple of the week in I guess that would be about 6 at bats for him. Boyle and Gavin Anderson had 2 hits. I think that's very encouraging. Not that I was really questioning too much like the depth for Haverford pitching. I think after Boyle and Rothstein, Luke O'Connell's pitched well for them. Gavin Anderson, I know Kelleher can pitch too, but like that was a really good performance, and that's just another kind of key to the puzzle of the pitching staff for them.
Yeah. I mean, they've built that staff up really impressively. I mean, I forgot that he had even transferred to Haverford just because of all the other guys that have been throwing so well. And now he just pops in the mix and wins the league game. Jimmy Boyle's your closer. And like one that helps a lot to ease the workload, because you think about how much he's thrown for them over the past 3 years. Like he's has to have put up as many innings as anyone.
Yeah. Now, one thing though I will note is I'm not sure he will be eligible for the playoffs, because I don't think Sergio Hernandez is allowed to play for Pencrest.
Is that is still like if you go private to public?
Yeah, I believe so.
Okay.
I think that it should be if you go public to private.
I agree.
You shouldn't, but I don't know. I feel like if you go back to your public school, then you should be allowed to play. But just, my opinion, nothing's going to change about that. Unfortunately, another thing that is our opinion might not change. Not a great year for the Central League playoff agenda that we're trying to push, because Haverford at the moment is just running away with it. But also, I think those guys will tell you they would still do the playoff because they think they would win.
Yeah.
So I think, or even if it was just one game, like they'll be like, yeah, show us what you got and we'll still beat you. So,
yeah.
All right,
I feel like with these guys, I feel like any teams in the county, you give them games to play, they're going to try to win them.
Correct.
If that makes sense. Like they're competitors.
Yeah. Last one on the Central League. Of course, we can't talk about every team. I did want to bring up one thing with Radnor, because they did lose to Garnet Valley. They beat Upper Darby. Daniel Kells pitched for the first time this year. So he threw in that game 2 scoreless innings, 2 Ks. I don't think he let up a base runner, maybe 1 or 2 walks. I think it was pretty sure he retired all 6 hitters he faced. That's a big development, not just for Delco, but just for the sake of like the district tournament. Like if they're kind of ramping him up to the point where he's feeling as close to 100% as possible going into the playoffs, look out, because they got both Havertines, they got Daniel and Caden Shaholski. Like that's going to be a tough out. He retired all 6 batters he faced in that game. So hopefully, he's feeling good after that. If he can get ramped up to go, whether he's starting or maybe just kind of the power reliever in whatever role is needed, if any of the starting pitchers are struggling a little bit, that's huge to have. So they won that game. Sean Muchler and Jack Ertel both pitched. That was a combined no-hitter in 6 innings as well for them. So it's very encouraging to see him back here. But last thing, not really necessarily about the Central League, just kind of where the Central League, and don't have too much to talk about Del Val this week, are sitting. So Haverford as of right now is the 2 seed, so they would have the bye. Garnet Valley right there at 16, so they would host the 17 seed. They're right on the border of the home and away bracket. Unfortunately, a lot of these Delco teams are right near each other. So Lower Merion would be the last team in at 24. They would be the last team in, Ridley at 26. Chester at 27. Therefore,
all right, let's go, boys.
Conestoga at 28. So like all these teams are like right there. That unfortunately, Ridley, Stoke, and Lower Merion, they're all going to be playing each other again.
Yeah,
so
we're going to be fighting for that last spot.
For the sake of that could be a great game of the week if it's like the last game of the year and they're both, 2 teams like on the bubble. That could be fun. 5A is a lot more Delco rep. Chichester is the 1 seed. Pencrest has slid down a little. But with that being said, Springfield is at 4. Pencrest is at 5. So if Pencrest were to beat, if they were to win their first round game, they would go to Springfield at the moment. And then Radnor is at 6. Strathaven is at 10. Marple is at 13. So they're still hanging in as well. Harriton's at 15. So again, not really out of it, but that loss to Marple kind of stung a little for sure. Interboro in 4A, they are the 3 seed, so they would play at Holy Ghost. And Delco Christian in 2A is the 4 seed. Congrats, you get to face Faith Christian. Have fun with that.
God bless.
It's going tough the last few years because of how good Faith has been. But that's all we got there. All right, let's wrap things up kind of with the PCL, and then we'll do our awards. But I know you got to get out of here at some point. So
yeah, I got. What time is it? I got an extra 15 minutes actually.
All right, cool. So we can wrap up. And then, all right, let's talk some PCL. We'll start. Devon Prep they basically saved their season this week because going into this week, they were 1-5 in the PCL. Now, granted, 10 of the top 13 teams make it, but if they lost even one of those games, 2-6 is not looking too strong. But they beat Bonner and Judge to get to 3-5. Beat Bonner at home. Johnny Dugan 5 shutout innings with 9 Ks. Actually, I don't know if it was shutout. No earned runs. Billy Degler 2 innings, 1 hit, no earned runs. Caleb Flannery, great to have you back, buddy. 3 for 4, double, triple, 2 RBIs. I think in PCL games that he's played, I think they're maybe 3-1 compared to 0-4 without him. So big difference when your D1 catcher comes back, both for the pitching staff and for the middle of the lineup. Christian Leckman 2 for 3 RBI. Joe Gabrielle, unfamiliar with his game, but he had back-to-back 2-hit games. So welcome to the big time,
sure.
The big scene, Joe. I mean, he was hitting in the middle of the order. Maybe maybe JV call up that was just mashing. Not sure. Austin Connaughton also had 2 hits in that game. So great win over Bonner at home for that one. Bounced back with an even better win. Not even bounced back. Continued on with an even better win against Judge, 9-0. Liam Young 5 innings. 4 hits, no runs, 8 Ks. Colin Carey and Caleb Tesfaye both threw scoreless innings. How about a 2-run inside the park homer from Austin Connaughton? That field in the alleys is deep at Devon.
Yeah.
You get one in there, you could fly for sure. Mm-hmm. Alex Hanna 2 hits, drove in 2 runs. Johnny Dugan 2 hits, drove in a run. Same with Joe Gabrielle. So a big week for them. We checked their schedule coming up here because sitting at 3-5, that's a team that has good starting pitching. You saw last year, they kind of snuck in, and then Dugan threw a gem against Newman Gretty. So, they can absolutely, I don't know how deep of a run they can go on, but, if they make it, they can absolutely win at least a game, and they play.
They'll be a tough out.
So, it looks like, according to their schedule, they only have 1 PCL game this week, which is Goretti. It might be more. I don't think they've put all of them in yet, but that's where they go next. So, definitely for their sake, you're playing meaningful baseball later in the year, one way or another.
Yeah, that is. It's nice that to get back on track. Obviously, getting one of your main guys back is always going to boost, the talent level and the team morale. So they could, if they get in, they could be a really tough team to face, especially if they're hot.
Yeah, Bonner-Devon rematch will be fun because that could be at the
that'd be a good one.
We'll talk about Bonner in a sec. That could be a play-in game. Switching to Carroll for a little. Again, same with them, kind of kept themselves in the mix. They took down Ryan 5-3. That game was on the road. Nick Gilroy and Shane Panici homered. Max Barnes and Ryan McGooey had 2 hits. Jack Stadnicki has been a great addition for them. 6 innings, 4 hits, 1 earned run with 8 Ks. Bennett Bishop 1-2-3 inning in the 7th to close it out. I don't know what his workload is, if he's going to be stretched out or if he's kind of more just like a late relief guy. But having a lefty Duke recruit out of the pen isn't also the worst thing to put in a big spot for sure. But if they can get him to the point where he's maybe starting games too, that's another team where, congrats, you're playing the 10 seed in the play-in tournament. You're going to face the Duke lefty 6'5", pitcher. Have fun.
Yeah, that sucks.
Yeah.
That just sucks.
Yeah, right. It's like,
came out of nowhere. It's like, all right. Stay in the mix, get your guys back healthy, and just hope for the best. Realistically, it's never going to hurt to have a Duke recruit sitting on your pitching staff. For sure.
They lost to Wood on, I guess that was probably Wednesday or Thursday, but this was actually a really good win. They beat Springside Chestnut Hill 9-1 yesterday, and I think it was on the road because they scored 5 in the top of the first. And for an offense they've been struggling a bit, that's a huge confidence boost. Gavin Moore chucking 2 shutout innings, no earned runs. Colin Moran threw an inning with no earned runs. Ricky Evans 4 shutout innings out of the pen with just 1 hit. Also, he drove in 2 runs. Nice week for Shane Panici, 2 hits, a double, and 2 RBIs. Ryan McGooey drove in 2. Nick Gilroy also drove in a run. Now, this is a huge game coming up tomorrow, Monday. Bonner and Carroll. Both teams are kind of right in that same. I think Bonner is 3-5. Carroll's 3-6. That's a game that for both of them they could really use, and I think it's at Bonner, if I'm not mistaken. I'll double check that. The game is at Bonner. So I mean, with Jack Stadnicki pitching like that, I think that should be a pretty good game.
Yeah. I mean, totally agree. I think that's going to be a good matchup with your best arm on the hill.
Yeah, it's not like you lose and you're out, but like if you win, you're in a much, much, much better. Like hearing 4-6 compared to 3-7, that might be one of the biggest like one record shifts.
Oh yeah, 3-7. You look at that, it's like work.
Yeah.
But yeah, 4-6 is still a shot. I mean, yeah, that's one both teams are really, really, really going to need, and expect a pretty competitive game.
All right, wrapping up the PCL talk here. O'Hara did beat Pope John Paul on Saturday, but we don't have to go too in depth because they lost all their conference games this week, and I don't think anyone needs to hear about the 15-0 Egan loss to Brady Guzzi. But shout out Jake Steigerwald hitting a grand slam against Pope John Paul. Bonner, so this was interesting for Bonner. So they also lost both of their conference games. Of course, Devon, they lost to Goretti in extras. And it's one of those, like, right when you're out, they bring you right back in because they beat Episcopal on Saturday, who's obviously going to be very high in our rankings. And it's just one of those, it's just like an eye test thing. Like, they have talent. They're going to hit. I think the most encouraging thing from this game here was Jake Gorman pitched really well. 5 2/3, 6 hits, 1 earned run, and 3 Ks. Ryan Friel's been really hot lately. He had 2 hits. He drove in a run. Gavin Dorita has been one of, if not the best. Again, it's hard because not all the teams have their stats public, but it feels like every game he has at least 1 or 2 hits, couple RBIs. Jack Brown had 2 hits. Cole Romano drove in a run. Owen Lockhart got the save. Gavin Dorita drove in the go-ahead run in the 7th on, I think it was either a fielder's choice, ground out, something. But again, it's just like, if they beat Carroll and Judge, they're back to 5-5 in the PCL. And I don't know. It's one of those things like you just can't quit them because you know how talented they are. You've seen what the program's done the last 5, 10, even 15 years. It's just like, it's so close to, is it a slump or are they just not a great team this year? I don't know. I still really don't know. I still think the pitching might not be good enough to win like the whole Catholic League, but like you see bits and pieces of the offense. I mean, they scored 11 against PJP, and it's just like there's so many dudes here that's like, who knows what happens if? I mean, they were the 6th seed last year and they won. So who knows what happens if they get in?
Yeah, I mean they're a team they're always going to be a couple wins away from like they're back. Like now they're going. Now it's kind of happening. Even last year, like it was the same kind of thing of they just kind of went through the motions for a bit and then turned it on. Is this year's team built as good as last year's? I don't know. I'd probably say no.
At least not on the mound.
Yeah, but you never know. I think it's very possible for them.
They're just like the definition of that Philly sports meme where it's like the cocky distraught. It's like, oh, 2 games we're so back, 2 losses we stink. It's like you just can't figure it out. But all right, well, that'll kind of wrap up our around the area again for the Del Val. China and Interboro didn't play this week, so those games kind of went the way you expected them to. But before we get into the players of the week and the power rankings, let's get a word from our good friend Charlie Longen, talking some insurance. They provide comprehensive insurance solutions and risk management strategies for businesses, individuals, and families. They go beyond coverage to build lasting relationship with their clients, including us. They're our liability insurance. Please don't sue us. They offer expert guidance as your needs evolve, helping you protect assets, safeguard your future, and maintain peace of mind. You can do personal insurance, business, all different types of insurance. Give Charlie a call, 610-724-9717. You can go in person, Kennett Square in Chester Springs, or email him Charlie at longengrp.com. All right, unfortunately, we lost Ben, so I will be taking you the rest of the way here. We just got the awards, the rankings, and the game of the week coming. We'll start with the players of the week here. I think the pitcher is pretty self-explanatory. Michael Schaffer with the perfect game against Penn Charter. 7 innings, no hits, no runs, no walks, nothing, 5 strikeouts. And I believe, I will double-check that. I want to say he threw like 88 pitches, somewhere in the 80s. Believe that he threw our first perfect game of the year. He threw 88 pitches, 55 strikes. Just awesome performance by Michael. We got to cover that enough, so don't really need to get too much into that. But our hitter of the week, congratulations, our offensive player of the year last year, Ryan Friel. He had 8 hits, 8 for 14. He also walked twice, so he reached base 10 times. Drove in 4 runs across 4 games. Congratulations to both of these guys for winning the Player of the Week award. And before we get into our power rankings, let's get a quick word from McDevitt Hitting. Of course, McDevitt Hitting provides a wide range of services to the baseball community. They have one-on-one instruction, group hitting, clinics. They can get you really from T-ball all the way up to Division I college athletes. They have a off-season team training program, so you can have a couple different weeks focused on different areas of hitting, whether that be remote, in person. They have a new remote program as well. They also have their new inflatable batting cage, which rocks. It's now available for sale. He has it at his house, also at Ridley High School. So for more information, you can follow him on Facebook at McDevitt Hitting as well as Instagram. All right, let's get in the power rankings here. Number 1, no change there for Haverford. These guys have been rolling, only undefeated team in the Central League, 10-0. I think overall in the season, I think at this point they probably are, I want to say like 11-2, maybe 12-2. So we will 11-2. These guys keep the top spot. Episcopal in the second spot. They have been rolling, as we mentioned. Of course, they lost to Bonner in that last game, but that was a 7-game win streak where they've been playing really well. So they stay at 2. Haverford School I have right behind because, again, they lost to Episcopal. Game was very close. This was really the first bad week for them throughout the season. I think they're 13-7 now, maybe 12-7 on the year, and I still think that they have a very good team. And 1 week they're 12-7. 1 week isn't going to change that. Staying at 4, we have Radnor because Radnor, I think, especially with the ability that Daniel Kellis is coming back now, I think that these guys are set. They're a team that I think is built for the playoffs because they're going to have so many arms and really just they're going to be playing a lot of low-scoring games. And I think that they're built for that. They're built for the playoffs. These guys were pretty much all on this team last year too when they won the district championship. Number 5, Springfield. This is, I think, their first time in the top 5 here. These guys are 9-4 overall, 7-3 in the Central League, playing really good baseball. They're really not relying on 1 or 2 people. They have a really good pitching staff that is very deep. They're not afraid to kind of pull guys early and just try and get fresh looks at different offenses here. So they come in at number 5. Number 6 is Pencrest. They slide down 1 spot, mostly because of how well Springfield played. They lost to Lower Merion this week as well, but they still deserve to be up there, so they stay at number 6, just moving down 1 spot. At Garnet Valley, they won both games this week. They beat Radnor and they beat Harriton. They're really only sliding down just because of Springfield and the way they've been playing moving up. Coming in at the 8 spot, Bonner slides down a spot. Look, I kind of just talked about it. I believe in the talent of this team. I believe that they are going to be a team that's going to figure it out. They really, if they lost to Episcopal, they wouldn't be on this list anymore. But you beat the number 2 team, and you have some good wins against some good teams. They lost to a lot of really tough teams early on, and really, I don't think anybody that's on the outside deserves it. I don't think they would tell you they deserve it either. So. Coming in the 9th spot, welcome for the first time this year to Strathaven. These guys have been playing really good baseball of late. They lost 3-0 to Haverford, which is a very tight game. Obviously belonged on the same field as them. They're the only team over 500 that was not on this list already, so they come in at 5-4 on the year. Really, the reality is that it's kind of a down year in the area. I've said it before, I'll say it again. Just a bit of a down year in the area, and I believe that right now that it's you can kind of slot any of those teams from, I would say, really 3 and down in any order. But I think that this is a difficult year for the rankings, but Strathaven's been playing really well lately, and they deserve it. Last but not least on the list, we will introduce our game of the week for this week. Unfortunately, the weather does not look great for this one, but as of right now, we heard that last week with Ridley and Interboro, and that game got played for the Dollar Dog Day. So we, for the first time in Delco Baseball Now's game of the week, we're heading to Springfield. Unfortunately, Ben is not here. He had to head out, but Springfield will be hosting at Halderman Field the game of the week against Pencrest. Now, the game will be a 3:45 start. Could potentially be a slugfest because this is the 3rd game of the week for each of these teams. So we'll see how the pitching holds up. But I'm excited to go there. I know these two teams have kind of been it's a similar story, right? They were both not great last year. They've really both turned it around. They're both near the top of the Central League standings. They've both been playing well, and I'm excited to see them go head-to-head. And I think Pencrest won the first one. I want to say 8-3 was the final in the first one. I'll double-check that. That game was at Pencrest the first time around. They beat them 8-3. this time at Springfield, with both teams looking for a first-round bye. All right, everybody, that's all we got for you this week. Thank you so much for tuning in. We're really just getting in the stretch run here. I think we'll probably have about 2 or 3 more of these shows during the regular season, and then we'll lock in for the playoffs. So as always, on behalf of myself, Brendan Ricciardi, Ben Thorpe left, Buster is with the Delco Baseball Now blanket somewhere over there. Thank you for listening. We'll see you next time.